Hi, this is Mr. Ward, and I'm doing another video on the 2018 Math MCAS for 8th grade. And I'm going to do a couple of Pythagorean Theorem problems. So number 29 is a Pythagorean Theorem problem, and we have a rectangle and a diagonal shown in the diagram. So we know the height is 15 and the base is 20, and we make this diagonal, but this makes a right triangle. So let's note that this makes a right triangle, and the side we're trying to find is the hypotenuse. So in the structure of a squared plus b squared equals c squared, the hypotenuse is the c, and we know what a and b are. So what is the value of x? So we can just set up a Pythagorean theorem. And you know Pythagorean triples, this is even easier because this is based on a 3, 4, 5 triangle. I'll talk about that in a second. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And now we just replace the letters where they are appropriate. So 15 and 21 doesn't matter which one is a and b because they're not the hypotenuse. They're interchangeable. So 15 squared and 20 squared equals c squared. Okay, and now we simplify further. 15 squared is 225. And 20 squared is 400. So we are going to get 625 equals c squared. And 625 happens to be 25 squared. So we get the square root of both sides. So square root of 625 equals square root of c squared. Now the square root of 625 is either 25 or negative 5. It's a dimension of a diagonal of a rectangle, so we're going to ignore the negative. So it's 25 equals c, and so our answer is right here. Now, why did I say this was part of a 3, 4, 5 triangle? Well, 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 20, 3 times 5 is 15. 4 times 5 is 20, and 5 times 5 is 25. So this is a scaled up 3, 4, 5 triangle. 3 squared plus 4 squared is 9 plus 16. And that adds up to 25, which is 5 squared. Pythagorean triples are one of the MCAS's and other standardized tests' favorite things. Pythagorean triples are a pretty interesting topic. There are triangles that are 3, 4, 5 in their side lengths. That's a 3, 4, 5. That's a famous one. There's also the 5, 12, 13, because 5 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. There's a 7, 24, 25, because 7 squared plus 24 squared equals 25 squared. And there's an infinite number of others, but these are kind of the most common 3 that I've seen on standardized tests. It is worth getting to know them. You'll learn a lot more about the Pythagorean triples probably in geometry. I'm going to pause and go to another Pythagorean theorem question. Now, this one may not look like a Pythagorean theorem question, but it is. We're finding distance, and the distance is going to end up being a hypotenuse. So we're going to draw a right triangle on this. So we're asked to find out from what the following is the closest to the distance between Odin and Lundy in a straight line. We've given a scale that 1 unit is 1 mile. So we're not going to even have to do any fancy work to scale up what value we get. So what we want to do here is we want to draw in an imaginary right triangle. Oops, that was terrible. I'll do that again. We're going to draw an imaginary right triangle, get the vertical component of this diagonal distance and the horizontal component. That was an amazing straight line, don't you agree? And this is a right-ish triangle. Okay, so we want to figure out that distance. That's our A. And then we want to figure out this distance. This is our B. And our hypotenuse is our C. All right, so we have so we can just count out the squares, or you could subtract 1 from 9. So A is going to be 8, 9 minus 1. And B, you can subtract 2 from 8. So 8 minus 2 is 6. Okay, and guess what? This is going to be another 3, 4, 5 triangle scaled up by 2. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. And so you might be able to predict just from that we're going to do 2 times 5, and that'll be 10. And you would be right. But let's go ahead and take it through the Pythagorean theorem so I can prove that that's true, and I'm not just making stuff up. So C has to be the hypotenuse, the long part of that right triangle. It doesn't matter whether I said 8 was A or 8 was B, 6 was A, 6 was B, but we'll just go ahead and say A squared plus B squared equals C squared. And if you forgot this formula, it's in the formula sheet, in the reference sheet. Please make use of that. So we copy pasta that, and A is, we'll say it's 8, and B is 6. And now we can copy pasta that again and simplify. 6 squared is 36. And 8 squared is 64, and 64 plus 36 is 100, so 100 equals C squared. We get the square root of 100 equals square root of C squared. I'm going to put that in parentheses so it's really clear we're getting the square root of all of it. And so the square root of 100 is plus or minus 10. We're only going to care about the 10, the positive one. That's 10 miles is what our distance from Odin to Lundy is. And it is another 3, 4, 5 triangle. So I'll put the 10 there here because this is a scaled up times 2, 3, 4, 5 triangle. 2 times 3, 2 times 4, and 2 times 5. And just a reminder, there's a reference sheet on the test that you'll be able to open up, and there's the Pythagorean theorem. Always, always, always understand that C is the long side. You will not always be looking for the long side. You might be looking for one of the short sides. So don't always put the unknown as C. You might know what C is and not know what B is. All right, I hope that helped.